Hi, welcome to a very special episode of the Tuesday Review. I am one of your hosts, James, and I'm joined by my co-host, Nathan. Nathan, to start off on a positive note, what's something made you happy recently?
Oh, I was on the other show we do, Future Mix on 98.9 Northwest FM. We had two live guests in, which was a first for our show on that program. That made me happy. We did a Zoom interview live on the radio, and we had a musical guest in the studio,
Nice, it
which
was a
made me
good
very happy.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're joined by a very, very special guest, Michael Marco, actor, filmmaker, editor, producer, everything, writer. Um, uh, Michael, what's something that made you happy recently?
Well, I was selected to be a judge at the Bridgeport Film Festival in Connecticut.
Nice.
And the festival kicked off last night, and it was a lot of fun to go out and meet some new filmmakers and to just be part of the group and part of the community and part of the this very special film festival. So that made me happy.
Yeah, that would be great. As for me, just Gorillaz released a new track and they've announced their new album coming out in March next year. So
Nice.
I'm happy about that. So Michael, we are going to talk about your career and your film Blind Blood, which is like a crime drama thriller that is being released in Australia on Tubi. And you can also, I think, watch it on Amazon Prime Video in the US and the UK. So we just want to start with, I guess we'll talk a bit about the movie, but then we'll flash back and how, go towards the leading up to the movie. So Blind Blood, can you give us like a little synopsis, a rundown of what it's all about?
Sure, sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Really excited to be here and talking to
Uh,
you and your audience.
Thank
So
you.
really appreciate that. But yeah, to me, Blind Blood has always been kind of a study of a psychopath and the sociopath, and they're at a crossroads right now. And so we're seeing their world slowly unraveling in front of them, and we're trying to figure out exactly who is who and what's going to happen. So we're, like I said, at a crossroads right now between the relationship between the psychopath and the sociopath.
Mm, that's a good way to put it. Um, so the movie, you star in the movie as Raoul and Mark Hansen as Jack. So you're sort of the two sort of criminal kind of heavies who their past life, I guess, comes back to haunt them. And it's got like sort of a Tarantino-esque sort of vibe to it, bit of a crime vibe. Um, Reservoir Dogs is like probably my favorite Tarantino, and I definitely
It's a
felt
great one.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, that felt like an influence. So it's got some of that vibe as well. Um,
and that's
s-
huge. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate
so
the compliment.
did you have any formal training or go to film school or any art school or any sort of background in that?
No, actually, I mean, never went to film school for it. What happened was, just fell in love with movies and TV series when I was younger. We had growing up in the 70s and 80s in France, we had a big influence of American television and cinema. And so, growing up with Starsky and Hutch, Kojak, and watching all the classics like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood. I mean, these were the guys I grew up with, and the movies they were making at the time. There was a lot of cops and robbers in a very seedy kind of New York environment, and that's what I was drawn to. So by doing a little play at a summer camp once, kind of fell in love with acting, and then after that, kind of started hanging out with kids that were shooting little movies, that we were making on the side. Somebody's dad had a camcorder, and so we would start doing this thing, and it started to grow into something else. And so the passion was always there, the fire was always there, and I wanted to study theater when I went to high school, but the high school where I had to go to, because of like district placements or whatnot, where depending on where you live, you have to go to this public school, or if you lived over there, you went to that one, different ones. And so the one I had to go to didn't have a theater class anymore. So they were like, well, you got to take whatever is left. And I always loved drawing, and so they were like, well, why don't you take painting? And I was like, well, I don't want to paint. I want to draw. I wanted to do cartoons and stuff like that. I grew up watching mangas and stuff like that on television. And so it's like I loved, not even realizing that I was doing little storyboards, for stories that I was creating. And so, when the medium of video kind of became something that we could use, I was like, okay, well, we were with some friends and start writing our own little stories. And from working at a little movie theater in the south of France during the summer, the people that were running it also had some camera, video gears, and editing gears, and they kind of took us under their wing, basically, and so kept us out of trouble, and also kind of really infused that passion for movies and writing and performing and shooting and lighting and all that. And when I moved to the States in 1993, it took me about a couple of years because I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know the language. I thought I studied English back in the day. Well, I got here and in the US, and I was like, oh, wow, no, I don't know anything. I
There's
can't even ask my way.
Difference between English and American.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned Reservoir Dogs, because I remember seeing it in the south of France in a little theater that just specialized in original versions movies. So they would only screen movies with French subtitles, no dubbing. And so I remember going to see Reservoir Dogs, and I was just, blown away. But I mean, really couldn't understand a single word besides the F-bomb that was being dropped everywhere. But still, it was extremely invigorating because, as we've never seen that kind of cinema, back then. I mentioned, Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson and then Steve McQueen and all these guys, and all of a sudden comes this young guy, and he's got this really raw, really, greedy kind of heist that goes wrong. And it's, all that blood and the violence and the dialogue was just like, it was a shock to the system. And you would see, exactly. And you would see in France, people like Luc Besson kind of brought a new cinema that was, to me, extremely influenced by that kind of cinema as well. And, I remember moving to the States and watching a movie like Romper Stomper, made in Australia, and being like, wow, who are these guys? Russell Crowe. And I mean, it's like they weren't famous at the time. They were just, making those great independent films. And it's like you just, I just fell in love with what was happening, and I just found it to be extremely invigorating and energizing as the potential that was ahead. But first, I had to learn the language, and that was a different story.
Well, it worked out, because I think there are some times when you watch a movie and you're like, this, like, the writer uses language in a way where it's like, oh, they get it. Obviously, Tarantino has his very specific kind of, flavor of dialogue. But I think, watching Blind Blood, I was like, oh, yeah, I can see the rhythm. Like, you get that rhythm. Nathan, there was a line that you liked at the beginning of the movie.
I can't recall it off the top of my head, but it was the start of the movie where it's like, we're those shit kickers from Texas. And right at the start, and I was just like, that was like a peak Tarantino-esque kind of like
one of the
line
guys, yeah,
really well delivered. Yeah.
one of the guys is bad mouthing Texas, and then these
Yeah.
guys come in with guns, and he's like, "Who are you?" It's like, "We're shit kickers from Texas." That was great.
Right after he just shot the other guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it does. I think what was interesting about these characters is, yes, definitely, I could see that the influence, and I feel very honored that you mentioned somebody like Tarantino. To me and to Richard as well, when we were discussing the screenplay, because we were rewriting as we were shooting as well. There was a lot of times when you read the first draft, it had a little bit more of kind of buddies, 80s kind of vibe with zingers and punchlines, and we decided to strip all that away and to go with a much more realistic and realism kind of vibe. And by doing so, we've also realized that you don't need to rewrite the language. You don't need to create your own language. Just use whatever is there. When people walk in, hello, hello. Nobody needs to be always having some funny expressions. It's like, be simple. What is interesting is just the situation and how a psychopath and a sociopath will react. It's completely absurd. Even Raul asking the other guy to just stand up just right, before something dramatic happens, and you feel like you're watching a train wreck. It's coming. You don't know when it's going to get off the rails. Maybe that's why you keep on watching. But at the end of the day, it's not about the dialogue being so original and so different. It's about using natural dialogue, but by implementing it in situations that a regular person would not react, then I think that some of the comedy kind of comes from that, to be like, oh my God, what did he just say? What did he do? And, maybe that's kind of, a little Tarantino-esque, like you mentioning, that had that influence, like just when Marvin got shot in the face in the back of the car by John Travolta, it's like that gun that goes off by accident when they were just asking him. So yeah, it does have this vibe, obviously, reminds you of Tarantino, but yeah, it's a huge compliment. So thank you very much.
No,
I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the movie.
And I don't want to diminish the work you did. It's just easy for that comparison for someone who hasn't seen the film, like our listeners who might be interested in it. It's like, it's easy just to go to, oh, it's Tarantino-esque. Like
it's no.
So,
I'm not thinking that. No. It's a really, really big compliment. I'm a big fan of the guy's work. I love more movies than others, of course, like everybody else. But no, it's a huge thing. So thank you.
No. Have you seen Oh, sorry,
I would
Nathan,
be interested. I would be interested to see what the buddy cop version of this movie is. But we
I want to see that version.
That's a totally different movie.
Actually, yeah. Is there a sequel plan?
Yeah.
All right. Oh man.
They go on a buddy road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. There's always. Yeah. No, that would be interesting.
I think it worked out in this version of the movie's favor anyway, stripping all of that kind of cheesy 80s buddy cop aspect, because I think it nails the serious tone really well.
The dark,
without being too serious, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. No, it does, and it's kind of funny because like you mentioned, it's like, you catch yourself laughing at moments where you're like, I don't know if I should be laughing at that, because it's not whatever is happening, when you read it on paper, it's not funny at all, but it's just once again the absurdity of the reaction during some situation that makes it funny. And it's you see nowadays, we see CCTVs everywhere, and you see some criminals doing some dumb stuff and you're like, it happens in real life, the guy in the jewelry store is like banging on the door when all he had to do was pull it instead of trying to push it to get out. It's like, what's going on? So, it really is happening everywhere around us. It's just a matter of, trying to put it down on paper that makes people want to keep, watching and turning pages and stuff like that.
Like, truth is stranger than fiction a lot of the time. And like, there's a bit, I don't want to spoil anything, but Raul is like a drug enthusiast, I guess you'd say.
Well, Raul is a complete psychopathic, sadistic, drug addicted maniac.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just like, this guy is like over the top, but also like kind of super realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you get that dual thing of like, yeah.
Yeah, because there are
Um,
people that exist like this guy, exactly
yeah.
like this guy.
You're like,
It's just like, how are they not in how have they not been in prison for life? Just pure good luck.
yeah,
That's it.
luck and just
Yeah.
oddly, and I'm not just saying this because you play the character, but oddly like charismatic, even though they're like super dangerous. You're like, that guy's scary, but
No,
also
thank you.
kind of cool. Yeah,
Well, it's kind of funny the way Raul came about, because if you think about it, you look at all these characters and they're not likable people,
Hmm.
none of them, you know,
Yeah,
and it's like, wow,
I didn't know
how do
who to
you
root for.
exactly? But it's
Yeah.
like, so you have somebody like Jack, a sociopath, and you don't even know if half the time whatever he's saying is true or not, because the guy's manipulator very well, and so. But you need I mean, for us, he was like putting him against somebody like Raul will almost make him be the good guy.
Mm.
When you see him kind of questioning in that opening scene, that kind of seals the relationship between the two of them early on, and Jack, not necessarily having an issue with what Raul is doing, because I believe that he's really happy that he doesn't have to do it, but very curious about what Raul is doing. Why did you do that when you could have just done this, and that would have been so much easier? And
Mm.
so he's kind of getting to know Raul a little bit, but more as an intrigued. I think he was more like studying him than he was really wondering what's going on, because once again, as a sociopath, always trying to bring everything back to him. And looking at some of the movies that were made, uh, sometimes like you don't need to have a good guy.
Mm.
I mean, you have movies with just bad guys all over the place. There's just one at a certain time that maybe becomes a little bit better.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Billy Ward, this guy that shows up. It's things are maybe not the way they seem to be, and you have a little bit as you get to know these characters, then you decide who you think
Mm.
is good and who is bad and who should get away with it. But as we talked about, you mentioned there's bad guys in the world, and sometimes bad guys win, and it's not always the good guy that wins at the end. Or I don't want to tell you what happens at the end, but and by the way, we've written several ending about the ending that but that's a different story. That's when we were trying to raise the money for the feature. So yeah. I hope I answered your question, guys.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so.
Okay, good.
So,
Good,
like,
good.
speaking of, like, how did this project come about? Did you have the idea one day and just sat down and wrote it, or was it like a longer process of like trying to figure out, what to make, or how did it
Yeah, well,
start?
it was a long process, because basically what happened was, I think it was 96, 97. Somebody broke into my car, and they stole my CD players and a couple of CDs that I had. And I remember telling the story to a friend of mine on the weekend, and he was like, "Well, what would you have done if you would have caught the guy in the act?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I would have beat him up, And he's like, "Okay, well then what?" I'm like, "What do you mean then what? Then you call the police. I mean, that's what you do, It's like, what if you can't call the police?" I'm like, "Oh man, where are you going with this?" And so, the idea as the wheel started to spin, and so came up with an idea that was kind of based on that is, you bust somebody that breaks into your home or your car, but somehow you can call the cops and you can't let them go. That was the
Mm.
main concept. And with some friends on the weekends, we try to make a version, loose version of that idea that was shot on high eight, and it was kind of it's school film for us.
Mm.
We did some fun stuff, but it wasn't where it was to be. But I remember, people who've seen the movie were like, "Wow, there's something there. Maybe one day you'll revisit it," and that kind of stuck with me.
Mm.
And I mean, just a chain of action, a chain of things just happened after directing my first feature film, co-directing with the writer. We went to the American film market in '03. or four tried to sell it. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was what I call a slice of life. So it was,
Was
about
that
three
a
young adults.
American Generator?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. MGen. Yeah. And, nobody touched it. But, when we went to the American film markets, trying to pitch it to the distributors in Santa Monica, we got the same three questions from the distributors, which were, what did you shoot the movie on? Which at the time, HD wasn't around yet. I mean, not as, prosumer kind of level. So they were looking for movies shot on film, 35 millimeter. And we had a mini DV movie shot with the Canon XL1, not quite appealing for them. Then they wanted to know who is in it. I said, I'm in it. And they're like, who are you? And I said, okay. And then the third question was, is there any violence and nudity? And I was like, oh, okay. So format, production value, talent attached, and three, sex and, violence. I'm like, all right. So went back home and, kind of tucked that away and kind of felt like, as a storyteller, a filmmaker, I believe that you can tackle on any kind of genre that you want without losing your integrity as a filmmaker. You can make a horror movie, you can make a thriller, you can make a comedy, you can do whatever you want as long as you put your heart and soul into it, and that's a story that you really want to tell. You should be able to do it, And basically, I met Richard Kroll, and who's the co-executive producer and cinematographer on the picture and colorist. And he also wrote the song at the end and designed the poster. A very, very talented guy. And we started working together. And, we kind of like each other's work. And, we collaborated on a few things. And one day, Richard just asked me, we were on the property. We were on where the movie was actually shot. Richard actually lives there. And he asked me, he said, hey, man, why can't you just write something for this place? And, I've been there 100 times, but I never considered the place to use as a location. We would go there to shoot some stuff. The portion in the movie where the shop is, it's actually, his studio. And then the living quarters where Jack and Sarah are in the movie, we had to kind of dress it up a little bit, put a feminine touch in it. And, the wife, Sarah, being there. And that was about it. So, shooting there was like, okay, that's interesting. Let me think about it. And boom, the idea just came right back. One location, it's got the electric gate. I'm like, man, somebody comes in, they get busted, they can get out. It's a pretty isolated place. You look around you, downtown is in a far background and it's a little bit industrial area. I'm like, this is the perfect setting for revisiting this idea that I had 20 years ago. And so within 3 months, I think I had the first draft ready to go, and shared it with Richard. And we said, okay, I shared it with Mark Hansen as well during the process. I've known Mark for a while at the time. We've worked on several movies together, projects, and kind of developed a friendship. And so I knew Mark would be on board. So, he was included when we were writing and as well. And, it's one of those things. And so when we got the script done, he was like, okay, now let's go get some money. And that's when everything went off the rails.
That's the hard part.
I think Orson Welles said it best. It's, 95% of filmmaking is about finding the money. And so we did. We knocked on every doors that we had access to from New York to LA. And now in retrospect, maybe we should have gone, overseas, foreign markets. And we even had a company. They optioned the script for about 4.5 years. And it kind of had what I call the snowball effect. It was kind of like, oh, well, we're going to get this guy to play this role and we're going to get that guy to play. And I was like, guys, let's bring it down a little bit. I mean, this was written for us to shoot kind of under the radar, to have fun, to see if we can make it happen. We weren't looking to explode this thing to another level where everybody was going to get a paycheck out of it or whatever. I was extremely thankful and grateful that they thought that this this little script that I had written could be elevated to that level. But I was like, I don't think anybody were gonna give us is gonna give us, a 7-figure budget for us to go make this thing, you know. And after a while, you just, they tell you don't put your own money into your projects. But it comes a time when you're like, well, if I don't put my own money, then this thing is never gonna happen. And I'm not telling you to take a second mortgage on your house or, to take your grandma's savings or whatever. Don't do that. I mean, I had people offering me money that I refused because they were, close friends, family members. And I'm like, no, I cannot take your money. I can't do it in good conscience just because the guarantee of making your money back are so slim these days, that I couldn't do it. But after 5 years almost, Richard said, man, why can't we just do this? I'll buy a couple of light bulbs. And no, I'm kidding. He didn't say light bulbs, but, I'm paraphrasing. So can get some food. And I said, okay, cool. So we wrote down, okay, you'll take care of the location, grip electric, cameras, lenses, grading. I'll take care of the talent. I'll take care of the props. I'll take care of the editing. You take care of the grading. And, and you split everything down the middle so you know what everybody is going to do. And then you jump and you just go. And every time you jump, you feel like you're drowning. And you're looking at this mountain and you're like, holy crap, man. It's like this is much bigger than I ever anticipated. And you're like, well, that's all right. One day at a time, you got to do it. You got to do, and you keep pushing through. And it's hard because when you don't have the budget that you want or you need, it's not even wanting at this point. It's about needing to pay your bills, to keep the lights on and food on the table. So you got to do some other things to, keep money coming in. And it's not like you're sitting on a pile of money and you're like, oh, well, when that runs out, I'll go back and get another job. No, it's not like that. So it was extremely challenging, scary as well, because, as I mentioned earlier, we had an editor on the old version or the first try that we did, who passed away in the middle of shooting. People go away, people break up. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to move back to LA. I broke up with my girlfriend. We've been shooting for 3 months every weekend, man. It's like, what are you doing to me? Then you got to do it again. So, going into something like that again was extremely, scary in a way, because you're like, man, you don't know. You really don't know, because when you don't have the money, you need time, and everybody gets robbed sometimes. So, it was scary. But having, Richard by my side and Mark and this really small core group, that's what you need in order to keep your sanity, to support each other. And like I tell people, as long as you surround yourself with people whose work you respect, then I think it's okay, because they want to make that movie as much as you do, but you got to listen to them. There's a reason why you want to work with them. Richard has a fantastic cinematic vision eye. He knows what looks good. He knows his lenses, and then the camera movement that he designs was, it was great to just see him work, and, you support each other the best you can with what you got. And, you wonder at times, you're like, is this thing going to fall apart? And when? It's not about if, you're like, it's when. I don't want to sound dark, because but so much can go wrong. I mean, when you see that bands, it's like 4 members and they can get along. So it's just very challenging, but you got to do it. If you feel like that story is something worth telling, and if you feel like you have the right tools and the right people around you, you don't need a big crew. It's not the same movie that if we had a 7-figure budget. But hey, man, it's quite a ride between talking about making a big movie versus going out there and doing it. Then, originally I wrote the script. I said, you know what, I'm going to write this thing, and if we don't get it done in 2 years, I'll just sell it and move on. That doesn't work like that. You know, it's like then you get attached, people start to like it, and you're like, no, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna freaking do this thing. I'm gonna do it with you guys, and then we'll see where it goes. You know,
Yeah,
and
you get yourself excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We've talked to a lot of indie filmmakers, and you know, the consensus is like, don't wait for permission. Don't wait for an angel investor who's going to give you all the money. Don't wait for Leonardo DiCaprio to be interested in your film. It's like, just go out and do it, because no one's going to give you permission. You just got to.
And this is true from what we can see on all levels of filmmaking. Even like, look at Francis Ford Coppola. He had to go out and sell his assets to make Megalopolis, right?
Right.
He had to. No one was going to give him the money to make the movie, so he had to do it himself. And this is Francis Ford Coppola. So
absolutely.
At the end of the day, he's playing where everyone's playing on the same level. Obviously, the goals are different.
Especially if you want to make something original.
Yeah, if you want to make something that's yours and it's original and it's a bit different and scary, well, then you're probably just gonna have to do it yourself. In today's market, anyhow.
But it takes a while to get there, to have the experience and the skill set to get it done. You know, it's like I'm not 25, you know, and I've been in a business for a while, and I started in production, and then, you know, 6 transition into post-production. So I started learning the art of editing back then. And I mean, you know, wearing all the hats wasn't a choice. It was a necessity to get it done. I love to collaborate. That's why I love making a movie. Like I always said, making a movie is a lot like a football team. You know, you got your quarterback, and you got your coach, and you got your line of defense, and you got your, you know, it's like you don't win the game by yourself. You know, you need the whole team. And making a movie is the same way, you know, even on the small scale. You know, you got to know which hat to put on at what time, and you know, once again, surrounding yourself with people that you trust and admire and respect is the key. And checking your ego at the door, because, you know, when you're doing an edit and you're like, you know, in a hurry to share it with somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, man, that's great, but why don't you let the camera finish its movement?" And you're like, "Huh? What do you mean?" Yeah. Then you're like, yeah, no, you're right. Let me try it. And you go and you try things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But as long as you have this open kind of conversation, and you got to respect, and you got to try things in order to get the best at what you got. You go out there, you gather all that footage, and then what do you do with it if you don't listen to people that are like, "Hey man, you know, maybe you need to cut it sooner. Maybe, you know, it's some things you can't argue with when it comes to the technicality. When the creative aspect, it gets a little more blurry, a blurrier version of it, you know, because people are kind of like, you know, well, I like it better if you don't stay on that close up too long. Well, you know what, I needed to see a reaction sooner. I felt like it. And, you know, you discuss and you try to figure out what's best for the project at the end of the day, you know. And for me, being in front and behind the camera, having Richard by my side, I know the characters because I wrote them, you know. I know exactly how they're supposed to act. But sometimes, you know, in the heat of the moment, you do a scene and you're like, yeah, man, that was great. And, you know, I could look at Richard, and Richard would be like, okay, let's do another one, but this time, like, turn it down a little bit, you know. You're like, oh, okay, I got you. Raul's done too much blow or whatever. and you don't realize it because, you know, you're caught up in a moment, and to you, you're like, oh, that was very subtle. Then you watch the playback and you're like, okay, let's do another one. But you need to have that rapport, you know.
You need that trust in your team, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's not just about them doing a job. It's also, you know, having them as collaborators. And as long as you can explain why this works or why it doesn't, you know, and people get it. But it can be challenging too. You know, people have their own ideas or interpretation of what the scene should be, and, you know, it's easy to let people, you know. You were talking about Tarantino earlier. Tarantino actually said the easiest thing you can do is make an adjustment with the actors. You got to let them do their thing. I guess it was an advice from Harvey Keitel when they cast Reservoir Dogs, and I agree, but to a certain extent, because it's really easy for somebody to get their feelings hurt on set. If you're like, whoa, okay, now you took this the wrong direction.
Mm.
Next thing you know, people clam up, then they're not there with you. So it's like an adjustment is the easiest thing to do if it's a minor adjustment. You
Mm.
know, if it's a wrong direction, then it's a whole different can of worms, and that's where you got to be very diplomatic because you got to you got treat people the way you want to be treated,
Mm.
so there's is something is wrong, let's talk about it, let's figure it out together. If we need to take a break, tell the crew to take 5 and go to craft and we'll work things out and then come back and get it
Mm.
done. I mean, working with these guys and Richard on Blind Blood, having the location available made things also very easy for us because hey, we would watch the dailies, the rushes during the week. We didn't like something. Hey, you know what? Let's shoot it again. It's right here.
Mm.
It's not like we lost the location. You got to be respectful of people's times as well, and actors they get cast on other things, so they got to cut their hairs, they got to shave, they got to do things. It's like when I went into post production, I had to keep the weight on and the hair for a year and a half when we were editing because if something had to be reshot, you can't put a wig that's going to look like what we have on. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's not going to work. And so you gotta keep that and keep that in mind. And but people, as I mentioned, they're going to come and go, and so you try to get everything done. And we only had to reshoot, I think, a scene like 3 or 4 times. Little inserts here and there that weren't, really critical, but overall, I think we did pretty good, as far as staying on schedule and getting what we wanted without having to, reshoot and reschedule and stuff like that.
I guess it helps when you do have experience in like all the different fields of filmmaking. Not only do you get a better understanding of like what everyone does, and how to direct them, but then also to collaborate with them and be like, all right, this needs to be cut a certain way, or this needs to be shot a certain way, and you know what you're talking about. Because I guess it's easy for you to tell someone how to do their job, uh, without when you know like more
What that
about it.
involves. Yeah.
Yeah, what it
Yeah.
involves. Yeah, especially like when act like you said, acting, being in front and behind the camera. It's like you can talk to an actor because you are an actor. So I guess that would make the process a lot smoother, considering you do have a lot of hats.
Right.
Yeah, so that would help.
It's it's go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no. I was just gonna say, like with Richard, for example, you said he did the poster art, which is behind you, which is really cool with the chain and the
Oh,
two
thank
main
you. Yeah,
characters. That was awesome. Um, and
thank you.
he also did the cinematography, and that's something I was really impressed by. It looked like it was a really good looking movie. Um,
Thank you.
we've reviewed a lot of movies on the show, like big budget Hollywood, crazy over the top, mega, movies that look like garbage. And we watched Blind Blood and we're like, oh, this really looks really nice. Um,
Wow. Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I think once again, it's not trying to make something too big. It's like let's keep it small, but really perfect the craft of it,
Mm.
and collaborating. Yeah, wearing the hats is once again out of necessity. But I mean, to me, the fun part is collaborating.
Mm.
It's having people trying things. Sometimes you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. I would have never thought of doing this kind of dissolve or just throwing a shot like that in there. But you get you know people jumping in and be open to what's being thrown at you, just because I don't believe there's bad ideas. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I believe there's terrible ideas, but I believe that something good can come out of a bad idea
Mm.
sometimes. You're like, well, okay, it's crazy, it's over the top, it's unrealistic, but there's that one little thing, and you can just water it, and it'll grow into something else. And then it's this visceral, very kind of organic process that happens. That's really unique when you collaborate with people. When people say, oh, your vision, I'm like, hey, I don't know, I don't have a vision. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a vision. I have an idea, I have a script, I have a story. The vision it feels too big, too like, no, I just want a DP who I love the work. Richard, like you mentioned, cinematography is superb, and it's like, yeah, I want to make a movie with this guy. When Richard approached me, I said, okay, I'm not the one reaching out to the guy. The guy asking me, and I said, I definitely want to do that with you. Absolutely. It took me a while to find somebody like Richard, that we kind of have the same taste in movies, and and it's actually he came up with half the title for the movie. I don't think I ever told that story, but we used to go have dinner on a Friday night, and there was this place called the Movie Trading Company once, and we used to go there after dinner and look through the bins and look at movies. And I just finished the screenplay, and there was no title. Terrible at titles. And being a big fan of the Coen brothers and their first movie, Blood Simple, I said, Richard was across the other aisle in the bin. I'm like, yeah, Richard, I think I'd like to have the title Blood in it. All right. And he goes, I don't know where. I don't know what he was looking at. I don't think I'll ever know. I never asked him. I don't know. But he just looked at me and goes, what about Blind Blood? And I was like, oh, all right. That sounds pretty solid to me, and seems to fit everything in there. So yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things again. It's collaborating and listening, paying attention, and and trusting the people around you. Sometimes it takes a long time to find them, and once you do, it's fun. It's fun to make projects like that. They're done very professionally, and that's when it's fun. It's the collaboration and the quality, the production value. To me, that's very important. It's like people are making low budget movies that they turn in 3 months. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I'd love to be able to do that. Are they any good? No. But hey, they sell in Japan, or they sell somewhere else, and they know, but it's like, it's really, there's no wrong thing. It's whatever you want out of life when you're doing your thing. Do you want to make a movie that you're going to be proud of, and or you just want to make content and make some money and keep doing it? It's nothing wrong with any of that. People wanting to work on commercials.
Exactly. It's that sliding scale of art and commerce. You fall on one side, and then that dictates how you kind of go forward, I guess.
That's it. That's it.
And there's no wrong answer, but it's like,
again, right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's like you said earlier, Michael, where it's like, even if you are doing something, quote unquote, to sell, you still want to be passionate about it. You still want it to be something you're proud of, and not just something you're making because of the money or because it's a product. So yeah, I think there's an unfortunate skew in like modern cinema and TV, where it's like, we don't care about this, we just need it for content.
Or you're getting sold the potential of the next film based on the film you're watching today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. I mean, in Australia right now, I mean, here we've seen, of course, the revival of television series, and now you see those big production by Amazon, by Netflix. What do you have? Well, you have Tubi, obviously, but what is popular? How did the landscape of entertainment has changed drastically over the past 10, 15 years? How did that affect you guys in Australia?
I think cinema suffers because we frequently get movies a lot later. Some movies, independent movies, will often come to us 3 to 6 months later than they come out in the States, which we suffer,
if at all.
as if at all. We suffer as movie fans, or we have to travel quite far to see these films. But ultimately, I guess the streaming landscape is much the same. There's not too many differences.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like most of our media is like US shows and movies. The Australian film and TV industry is still quite small and doesn't really get the sort of support it needs, doesn't really get the money it needs, and a lot of like especially TV show like all our movies are basically indie movies, and all our TV shows are basically just like reality shows to fit a time slot.
Mm.
So
And
like
the
I
indie
think
films, the indie films specifically that we see, the kind of Australian slash Melbourne independent films, you're lucky you see them in a festival, and that's probably the only time you're going to see them.
yeah, it's hard to get them released.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I think it's still a case of if you want to make it big, you have to go to the US kind of thing. Like that's still, I think, a big part of it. So it is incredible. Like we talk a lot to a lot of Australian indie filmmakers. So when they do stuff here on their own, it's like incredible because it's like it's harder to get it done here. And then once you do get it done, people don't want to see it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk to you, kind of thing. Whereas
We
I feel, I mean, you can talk about this, Michael. Like in America, there's at least a little bit more excitement if you've made something. They're like, oh, okay, like let me see it. I know a guy. I guess if you're in LA, that's different, like because that's the whole industry there. Um, I guess once you made Blind Blood, like what was the process of getting it distributed? Because that's a whole nother journey.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. The thing for us, and we got very fortunate, is that when we wrapped Post, it was in July 2022, I believe, and we were all ready to take a break. Richard was actually shutting down his place, and he went out to California for a few weeks, few months, to go hang out with some friends. And you know, something that I forgot to mention maybe earlier was that the script was actually written with the distributors in mind. No, I think I touched upon that because of the questions. Yeah, and so we never really thought about doing the film festival routes. But as the movie was being cut, and I remember, I think it was Mark Henson that was like, "Are you going to send this out to film festivals because you had a good run with previous stuff?" And I was like, "Well, I wasn't thinking about it because in my mind it was just distributors." But I was like, "Sure, why not? Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens." But Richard went out to California, and the American film market was happening at the time. And he said, "Man, should I just pop in there and see what's going on?" I'm like, "I know those passes are not cheap. But I'm like, well, see what you want to do. I mean, go for it if you feel like you want to do it." And so he went, and that's when he ran into our distributors. I had a teaser cut at the time that he took with him, showed him the teaser, and bingo, it was like, oh yeah, we can do something with that. I was like, ding, 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 all the right ingredients, put them in that teaser. What do you guys think about that? And they were like, oh yeah. Well, we talked to other people as well, but at the end of the day, the distributor we went with, we felt very comfortable with them, and they really seemed to enjoy the movie, and they really felt strong about it. And we're like, okay. So we got lucky. After that, the film festivals accolades that we got was just bonus. It was fun because back in the day, you used to go out to film festivals hoping to meet somebody from a distributor there, looking for the next big thing, and so you're out there, you're like, but now they don't do that anymore as much, or depending on the festival. Some festivals are also film markets, and they go to those. But if I got to say something to your audience, those guys out there that want to make a movie, macro budget, and go out there and get it distributed, go out to those film markets. Do it. Because if you think that because of the internet it's easy to find a distributor's phone number or email address because you got an IMDb Pro account, yeah, you can do it, but you're not the only one. They're spending their money to go out there, and they want to talk to people that are serious about their craft and their product. Let's not forget, we're making a product here for them to sell. So if you take that extra step to go out there, to spend the money, to go meet these people when they're all under the same roof, I think you kind of set yourself apart, and from the guy sitting on their sofa thinking, I don't need to do this because I got my phone right here and I can just send them an email, because they're getting floated with people doing that. So it is important to realize, as we talked about distribution, that especially on the level like that, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves. You're not signing up with a big studio. You're not going to have $15 million to do marketing worldwide. You got to cut your own stuff. You got to help your distributor as well. They have the Rolodex, but you got to give them the tools to go out there and do their work, just like an agent. You got to do your demo reel. You got to do your headshot. You got to you got to do all that. They're not going to do that for you. Same day with distribution. So we got fortunate, and but realizing that at this level, you're still, you go to Amazon or you go to Tubi and you search for a movie. Sometimes you even have to tap almost the whole entire title before the movie shows up. And you're like, wow, unless you're feature on the front page or the feature rotator, whatever they call it, where you're like, oh wow, okay, if you like this, you will like that. Or viewers that've seen this one, they've also looked at this and that. If you're not there, then you got to do a lot of work yourself, unless you have money to hire somebody to do it, and that's even challenging to try to find people to help you. Even put a little reel together and promoting it. It's thank you guys for what you're doing, because you're keeping independent film alive. You're giving us a voice, and you're helping us introduce our hard work to new audiences. And the success of the movie relies a lot on you guys by supporting us and by doing what you're doing. And it's remarkable that you guys are doing what you're doing, because you're like a lifeline to us, to keep us coming up with new content, fresh content for us to keep promoting our stuff. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for saying that. Look, it's not entirely selfless on our part, as we were talking about before with movies today and how they just seem like content, and they're all kind of flat, ugly, digital, all those kinds of issues with your $100 million movies today. They don't care as much. So we find these independent movies that we like to watch are more interesting anyway. So it's not selfless for us. We're getting ahead of it. We're getting exposure to new movies and filmmakers and all that kind of good stuff. So it's good for us too.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you say, like, it's one thing to be distributed, especially on a streaming service, but then people still have to find that movie. Right. So yeah, like it's interesting now with like the internet and streaming, and how you technically can make a movie all by yourself on an iPhone and release it on YouTube, but there's so much stuff on YouTube, and there's so much stuff on social media, and there's so many movies and so many shows and so many streaming services. It's like, how do you get people to watch that? How do you get people interested in that? So I think that's what, like you were saying, it's like, even though we've talked about like the democratization of filmmaking now, like more people can do it, technology is cheaper and better than it ever has been. It's easier to make a movie technically than ever, but still, you still need to, I guess, do the old school work, call people, and like you're saying, like the headshots, and going to a film market events and stuff. So it's interesting.
Look, we're not in the same industry, obviously, but we have some of the same parallels when we're doing our radio work. When we're like, sometimes in person is a lot better than just sending an email. You have to go that old school route. We have to get out on the street. You have to shake people's hand. You have to introduce yourself. People get thousands of emails every day. If I'm shaking someone's hand and we're having a talk and we're having a conversation, they're going to remember that more. We're going to leave an impression in person better than we are by sending a message.
Sure,
so it's like that's like with every single industry. I feel them especially important when it's all about networking and relationships than having a team with you.
I guess it's like it's easier to communicate now more than ever with the internet and social media, but there's like the loneliness epidemic or whatever, because it's not real. or whatever. So yeah, you still sort of need to go out and meet people. But then on the same token, like we have this show where we can put it out to the whole world using the internet, and we can talk to people like you, Michael, over the internet. And so it's this double-edged thing of like it's amazing, but also you still have to sometimes do it old school. Especially like you were saying, like when you want to get a film seen. Especially like because you're in Texas, right? And the Blind Blood was shot in Texas.
I
So
was in Texas. I'm northeast right now. I'm in New York.
okay. So I mean, I guess New York's a different thing as well, but like New York, Texas, like what's the industry there like? Do you still is everyone still like you have to go to LA to get things made?
No. I think it's wherever you go. It's about finding your clique. It's about finding the people you get along with, the people that want to do the work. I mean, you go to big cities like New York to do it professionally, get an agent, and the work is concentrated there. Yes, of course, Hollywood studios, weather is great, and facilitate shooting outside and all that good stuff. But it's once again, it's about what you want to do and how you want to do it. I had the opportunity to go to LA after American Generator, the first movie that we talked about earlier, and I was like, hey, I don't think so. I was like, the stories I want to tell, I can tell them in Texas. I spent 30 years in Texas before my wife and I moved to the Northeast, and it was kind of like, I kind of felt like I didn't need to do, because I didn't want to. It was never my goal or my dream to be in a big Hollywood movie or to be a big Hollywood star. So I didn't want to go out to California with a bunch of headshots under my arms and be a waiter until something might or might not happen. It's you never know. I just felt like, well, the directing, I can do my stories wherever I am. I can adapt. It's like right now I'm developing a story, a ghost story I want to shoot in Connecticut. I'm like, hey, Connecticut, right here. So why not? So it's kind of like you find what it's, once again, whatever you want to do. Whatever makes you happy, and be okay with. Hey, okay, you want to make a movie and you want to work for the studios? Yeah, absolutely. Go out to California. Go out to LA. I mean, even in New York, I think you can still, I mean, you look at, when you do your research online, most agencies or talent agencies, or I mean, they have an office in New York and they have one in LA. So that says it all right there. Like I said, once again, it's all about what you want to do and however you want to approach it. I stayed in Texas. I studied different aspects of filmmaking, from production to post. And, I was like, okay, we're talking about the content and being floated with all the content. And it makes you realize that at the end of the day, you are not that special. Everybody else is doing it out there. Now, how do you set yourself apart from all that? Well, you try to make a good movie. Making a movie is easy. Well, no, it's hard, even a bad one, but it takes a lot of parts to just and it usually never works out. It's really rare when you have all those ingredients that kind of fall into place, and the right cast and the right story and the right DP and the right editor and the right audio. People kind of tend to forget about the audio, how important it is, and nobody notices a bad audio until they hear one, and then you're sucked out of the story, because all you're paying attention to is that audio in the background going, and you're like, what's going on here? Turn it off, and you're out. So it's being able to do something that kind of sticks out, and Blind Blood. I'm we're doing this. I'm reaching out to people to promote the movie wherever it's available. It is a lot of work to do it, research and finding the right folks to talk to, but it's worth it, man. It's worth it because I believe in the product. I believe that the people that will take the time to watch it. If that's what they're into, they will enjoy it. And I'm really, really proud of the work that everybody has done, from the cast to behind the camera. The people that jumped in and the support was fantastic. Just to know that people watching the movie and saying, hey, not my cup of tea, but wow, it sounded great. It looked great. The acting was great. It's like, well, I don't know if you're saying this or you're really meaning it, but it feels like they're meaning what they're saying, and that gives you more fuel and more energy to keep pushing this movie to find its audience. And once again, going back to people like you guys, what you're doing is really important. So thanks again, and it's you got to do it. If you believe in your movie, if you believe that it's a movie that maybe in 5-10 years down the road, it's not going to be an old movie. It'll still be a new movie to some audiences. So when people are like, oh man, you've been promoting this thing on Facebook for 2 years, hey, you don't like it, get out, don't watch it, don't unfollow me, do what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, but it's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching out so I can introduce people. I got something to sell, something to introduce. And, I know there's a bigger audience, and with the help of the distributors, hopefully we'll get there, and that's it, using those tools in a way that's hopefully, maybe one day somebody will call and say, hey man, I want to make a movie with you. Maybe George Miller will watch it and say, hey man, you want to be in the next Mad Max? That'd be nice.
You'd be great.
Raoul in Mad Max. Oh wow, yes please.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So look, at least Australian audiences are lucky because Tubi here is free. Ad supported, but it's free. So there's the barrier of entry is low here for audio audiences. So we can share it on our socials and say, look, you're not going to lose anything.
Our listeners have no excuse not to watch.
That's it. There's no excuses not to watch Blind Blood in Australia.
No, thank you. And for your audience out there, if you're a filmmaker, and you feel like you got something, it's like reach out to people. It's even if you just need another pair of eyes on the script, it's like, I wrote this thing, I don't know. Can you give me an honest feedback? If that's what you're looking for, you'll get it. Same there with with talent, with actors. It's like they want to work, but they want to work on the good stuff. They will come out for cut rate or SAG rate or whatever if they believe in the project, but or they believe in you. But it's you. It's don't assume that people will the reward of working with you is good enough for them to be a part of your dream, of your story. Like I said, even a small rate will still go a long way, and good material. People actors want to work on good stuff. They do some stuff for the money. We all did it, commercials and stuff like that, or even sometimes a movie you take it on, but you're like, okay, I got to build a resume. I'm not really in love with this character that I'm playing or whatever, but you do it because you're building on. And I guess it's you'd be surprised. But like you mentioned earlier, with the technology being available, oh man, but you still need to do something good. And if you need people around you, the internet has made it very very easy to connect. And I invite anybody who's watching us right now, if they have any questions, to feel free. I'm really easy to find and I always answer. So it's go out there, man, follow your dreams. Like you said earlier when we first started, don't wait. Don't wait, because you will always find a reason not to do it. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right guy. I don't have the right location, the right prop, the right. Just go. Just give it a shot, man. It's like, if you fail, you fail. So what? Get back up, dust yourself off, and get back on the horse, man. If that's what you meant, if that's what you really believe you meant to do or want to do, or do it. Just figure out a way and reach out to people. You'll be surprised. Some people will be like, oh no, that guy is too big, or this one will know that DP is going to be too expensive. You don't know what they're working on. You don't know where they are in their lives right now. It's just reach out And once you explore everything, then you can say, hey, you know, like we did when we knocked on all the doors from LA to New York looking for the money, and we were like, all right, that didn't work out for us, but at least we tried. You know, we felt like we really did. And so, all right, let's make the same movie but differently, you know, and it still happens. So
yeah, it's great you say that, because it's like we believe on our show, like creative, you know, artists supporting artists and creative people, and like, you know, like you were saying, like us amplifying you know, your message or whatever. It's like we're all in the same,
A rising
like,
tide lifts all boats.
yeah, like we should all be helping each other. So it's like, it's crazy when people are like, oh, I made my film, I'm better than you, go away. And it's like, that's wild. But
yeah, that's the wrong approach. Yeah, you know, it's like, I understand the competition aspect of it when you're auditioning. You know, you show up in a room, you got 30 guys. They look like you, they sound like you, and you're trying to not do what they're doing in there. And you know, I think there's a clip I've seen of Ryan Gosling talking about that somewhere on social media, and he's absolutely right. But you know, once you book the gig, collaboration, man. You know, I talked about what I call the selfish actor not too long ago, which is, you know, when you're shooting with one camera because you can't afford two cameras, or because you just like to position your camera in a way that if there was a second camera recording, then it'll be in the film, you know, it'd be in your picture. So, you know, but when you do something like that and you're shooting with one camera and you deliver, and I've made the mistake, you know, where I was like, okay, well, we're going to just knock out my scenes. And then, you know, we'll flip the camera around and shoot the other guy, and I'll be done for my acting, and then I can really focus on the directing. And so you do the scene, you know, with the other actor. He's reading lines off camera, and you're doing your thing. And then you flip the camera, and the guy, you know, who was at 5.6, now he's at 8 or 9. The intensity on the delivery, and you're like, what the hell is going on, dude? It's like this is not gonna cut. We were at this level, now you're up here, I'm down here. How is this gonna work? You cannot, you know, you got to deliver the same intensity whether you're on the screen or not. To me, I believe it was Rob Reiner that was talking about Jack Nicholson when they did A Few Good Men, where he was basically, you know, asking Jack Nicholson with the famous, you know, you can handle the truth, you know. He asked him, he said, do you want to shoot that first? And then I'll do, you know, I'll do the reaction shots of the crowds and reaction shots of the other actors after. Or do you want to? He was like, no, shoot the guys first, and then we'll do me later. And he said that Nicholson was like spot on every time. The camera wasn't on him, he was still delivering with the same intensity, to the point where he had to walk up to him and say, Jack, save some for the camera, man, you know. And that was like, you don't understand, I don't get to act very often, so when I do, I enjoy it, you know. And it's fantastic, and that should be the mentality, because once you jumped, you got the gig, you're in the pool with everybody, let's just swim together, you know, help each other out. We're not here to sink each other and, you know, drag us down. It's the better you are, the better they're going to be, and the better movie you're going to have, you know. And sometimes it's challenging, but that mentality of, you know, I made my movie, mine is better, I got more of this, I got less of that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You know, it's like, good luck, you know, to you and the Red Sox and whatever. It's like, you know, I don't know. I never understood the mentality, but, you know, I spent a lot of time in Texas and try to bridge people together and bridge them together and try to say, hey man, you know, I'll edit your thing if you want to, you know, direct some of my stuff or act and blah blah, we can switch hats. But at the end of the day, that's not how it works, you know. People seem to be there when they need something, and sometimes when you need something, they're not there. You know, they got to take grandma to the airport that day. You're like, oh, that's interesting, okay, and you just move on. You know what I mean? It's like it happens. It's all the time, but that's not the way I like to operate. You know, again, the collaboration is what makes something better. I think.
100%.
and it can lead to, you know, even if you collaborate something and it doesn't like really work out, it's like, oh, I met this really cool guy on this thing,
Right.
and now we're going to go off and do something else, and he knows this guy who did, you know, this thing.
Bingo.
Yeah, and
Yep.
and then you end up making Citizen Kane.
Right.
Whatever.
Right, exactly.
Do
But that's the
you?
problem. A lot of people think they have Citizen Kane and they don't.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like I was gonna say a movie, but I can't because it's it
All
wouldn't be
right.
fair to
Tell
that
us
movie.
after. Well, yeah, one man's what? Citizen Kane is
Treasure,
another
somebody
man's.
else's
Jeepers Creepers
trash.
report.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Do
man.
you still go for auditions, or are you focusing on behind the scenes stuff?
No, I haven't. You know, it's a funny thing because I kind of had to put a lot of things on hold in order to get Blind Blood done. And I just realized that if I was being distracted by other things, that movie had the potential of just never getting done. So I kind of put everything on hold. Not saying that I won't go back on auditions and, you know, find a new agent up here in the Northeast. I don't, you know, I haven't been seeking really, but I'm open if anybody's watching.
Ben
But
Stiller, if you're listening,
Yeah,
Severance shoots in New York, so you got a local.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate the plug. But yeah, no, right now I'm just enjoying, you know, pushing Blind Blood out there and talking to guys like you and seeing where, you know, how far I can take this. And, you know, it's for me, it's like I'd like to make another movie if time allows and if everything kind of lines up. If, you know, it's as an artist, you know, you want to you know, you can do different things, you want to do and explore other things, you know. I always said the day you make the perfect movie, then you're done, go do something else. And, you know, I mean, Blind Blood is not perfect at all, but yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good, decent little movie that I'm really proud of, that I feel like, you know, if that's the last one, then that's the last one and I'll be fine with it, you know what I mean. But
The fact that you got
it's
one is a miracle. You know.
that's the way I feel about it too. That's the way we feel about it too. Sometimes just to realize that we got it made is just in itself. Yeah, it's you know, it's it wasn't done overnight, but we got it done. So yeah, acting, we'll see. You know, the part is right, and the otherwise, I'm just gonna stay in my lane and kind of create my own, you know, the stories I want to tell, you know, and see if I can get them off the ground or not. So.
Well, can you tell us anything about the ghost story thing you're working on? Because that's right up our alley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we love that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, the horror genre is something that, you know, it's always really appealing. There is a house actually in Bridgeport, Connecticut, here where it's the house at 966 Lindley Street. I don't know if you're familiar with that house, but it's the house that has the most poltergeist events recorded because it was witnessed by officials. I mean, some people are saying it was set up later, but if you guys want to look at it, it's interesting. And so kind of that aspect of the horror genre, I wouldn't so much do like a slasher kind of a thing, but more with you know, something that has to do with the spirits and the afterlife and you know, kind of yeah, that kind of stories, you know. I believe that there's sometimes a lot of power into looking at an image that will, by just a slow camera push, make you feel very uneasy. You don't need to have the jump scare that's like every time, it's like,
yes.
but just creating tension just visually and with audio as well. And then it doesn't need, I don't think it needs much to really kind of get that creepy factor, which I kind of touched upon a little bit. We touched upon a little bit in Blind Blood, when you have this kind of a triangle tension going on between something that's going on in one place and that other character is seeing it and that one over there. And so you're building that tension to a climax, and then boom, it explode or implode. And so that kind of stories is I think you can apply it to like the horror genre as far as ghosts and good ghosts, bad ghosts, whatever it is, wherever that's going to take you. But I think it's something fun, to do. Amityville Horror, was
Yeah.
great. That's those kind of movies is always fun. There's a movie called The Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. I forgot if it's a Danish movie or I
I've heard
forgot
of
where
it. I
it's
haven't
from.
seen it. Yeah.
And it's about a nurse taking care of an elderly lady and into this house, and just the way it was shot, the way it was edited is I don't know. I found it to be pretty disturbing and pretty efficient by achieving what they set out to do. So I really got into that one. It's a Netflix production.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fertile space for that kind of just uncomfortable, tense, creeping horror. Like, I think, what is it? The Rule of Jenny Penn made me incredibly uncomfortable.
That was a good one. Yeah.
And that was psychological horror, and that's a Shudder exclusive original.
So, yeah.
And there was no jump scares in that, but it was traumatizing.
We always talk about
Yeah.
the best horror movies. It's like all about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, jump scares are cheap. Anyone can do jump scares. But yeah, to create that sense of atmosphere, and especially like the haunted house, like the old, is Winchester Mystery House on the East Coast or the West Coast?
Which one?
The Winchester Mystery House. Have you heard of that?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, it's great. It's so the guy who created the Winchester rifle, he died, and then he's like, all his children died, or like, and then only the wife was left, and she thought, because the guns killed all these people, like this is the ghosts of all the people who the guns killed are like haunting me, and they've taken my family from me. So she they had their like big, because they were super rich, so they had this big mansion, and she's like, to keep the ghosts at bay, for some reason, I can't remember why, like she's like, we just have to keep building the house. So just for years, like she just had constant building of like rooms that go to nowhere, staircases that lead to nowhere. It's this really, I've always been fascinated by it. I'm just trying to look, I can't remember where it is. It's in California. Okay, so it's on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, but stuff like that's always really interesting, like the old, like haunted house kind of.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but if you have experienced things with the afterlife, or this kind of manifestation, or I truly do believe, and we're going off on a different tangent.
No, we love this stuff.
It's when if you have experienced some things that you witness with your own eyes, and there is no doubt in my mind that there's something going on. It's kind of almost eerie to even tackle on a concept like that, because I truly do believe that as energy entities that we're made of, we attract different energy around us. And as far as what happens when you die, I don't know. Nobody knows. But is that energy still around? Is it coming back? Is it not being able to access a certain level? Whatever it is, I have witnessed things in my life where I was like, oh, yeah, no, that thing just, nobody moved that thing. That thing just moved by itself. And you're like, all right, man, I understand that. I feel like some people are more open to this kind of manifestation. I feel like if there's a spirit world, which I do believe, they might be attracted to the people that are more open, or somehow they have a different, I don't know, they kind of use them as a conduit to let them know that, they're still around or whatnot. And so believing in that, by some of the things that I've witnessed, I'm kind of like, it's almost intimidating to want to write a story about this, because you're like, Hey man, I don't want to open up the book of the dead, like the Evil Dead, and
Inviting
next thing you
trouble.
know, she starts flying around the house again, and boom, you close the book, and you're like, yeah, no, and I did say it again. So, but it's kind of like, okay, do I really want to go down that round, or maybe I should make a comedy and see if Will Ferrell is around? I don't know. Uh, so but yeah, no, it's kind of interesting, to just do the research nowadays as well. Another thing is the internet is so great about being able to research any kind of genre, any kind of stories that you want. You don't have to go down to the library and get your card and get out at 5 when they close, or take the book home. And it's like, it's amazing. I mean, right now, this time is so amazing that we're living in right now. I feel like, everything has come such a long way from what we used to know. It's like when you were talking about the movies being released 3-6 months later in Australia versus to whenever they come. I mean, growing up in France, sometimes it would take 3 years for a movie to show up, and it's like, if it did show up, I know that Stanley Kubrick never sold the rights to the Clockwork Orange for broadcast and VHS distribution and video back in the days in Europe, at least in France. I remember moving in '93 to Texas, walked into a Blockbuster, the Clockwork Orange VHS is there. I'm like, what is going on? This is insane. I'm able to take it home. Back in the day, he would re-release the movie every 10 years. So the first time Clockwork Orange came out was in '71. Then you re-released it in '81, which I was way too young to go see, and I didn't. But I remember the movie posters when my parents and I would be driving by the movies and seeing Malcolm McDowell's face all distorted with the contraption on the eyes and the orange. I was like, what is this? And my mother saying, oh, that movie is so horrible. Your dad and I, we had to walk out of it. We couldn't watch it. I'm like, now I want to watch it. It's like, all right. And I had to wait 10 years. And so when I finally saw it, it was in 2001, ironically enough, on a big screen. We're like in a big theater with 400 people, and being able to experience the Clockwork Orange like that. No, what am I saying? 1991, sorry. It was just, it was great to do that 20 years after the movie came out, and then moving in '93 is when I saw that he already sold the rights to VHS back there for the Blockbuster, and he was like, now I can watch it whenever I want.
Maybe it's just the old man in us, but it's like there's something special about that, where it's like you used to, if you missed something on TV, that was it was gone.
Right.
You had to wait ages for something to come back at the movies, if it ever came back, whatever. So it's like there is something special in that, whereas now everything tips and you lose. It's like it's like the illusion of choice or something. I don't know. It's weird. Technology is weird.
You're right. I mean, it was a special occasion. I mean, I remember going to the movies, and then we would leave and then go to McDonald's and sit down and get a couple of burgers, some fries, a Coke, and discuss the movie. And with friends, and you split, get back on the bus, you go home, and you carry that feeling of you're not thinking about what's wrong in your life. You're not thinking about the bad things. You just had a little bit of a window of a couple of hours where you just escaped into a different world. And it's it's a medium that's so challenging, because it's not like looking at the painting where you create your own stories behind what's happening up there, or a song. It's everything is kind of connected in the medium of film. It's the way you feel when you look at a shot, the way it's lit, the way it's edited, the way it's composed. It makes you feel one way and make you feel a different way, it's like it's so different, but so raw as well, that it's the impact that it has to have all those senses almost hit you at once: sound, visuals, and story and acting and everything else. It's very powerful. And it's special. You said it. I mean, that's it. It's just very special. And when that's diluted with all the content, basically. And that's the thing. People are making content these days. They're not making art anymore. It feels like sometimes,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about talking about festivals before, sometimes now that's the only way that we can capture that magic, because I'm seeing a movie that doesn't have a
right.
release. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
one and done. This is someone's put their heart and their soul into making this movie. Like we've talked about on the show before, The Maiden by Graham Foy. Like, we
Hmm.
saw this movie
That
in
was
2023 at a film festival in Melbourne, the Melbourne International Film Festival. We saw it once, and then it got released like 2 weeks ago here. And it took 2 years for us to be able to watch it again.
And it was 2 years of like silence. Like
Yeah.
we reached out to the distributor. We couldn't find the filmmaker online. Like it was just like we were like,
Whoa.
this movie's never getting released again. So we had this special for 2 years. We had this kind of special experience of seeing this really good movie, and then being like, this is never going to come out. And then it just came out the other day. So yeah, I mean, there is that kind of special experience, but also
Yeah.
you want everyone to see it, like
That's the ultimate
eventually.
goal.
Yeah.
You want everybody to see it, everybody to love it, and but you got to be realistic with what you got to. It's like you guys have the eye and the taste for indie films, originals, and don't get me wrong, there's a place for everything.
Of course.
It's just a matter of what your taste is like and what you guys enjoy, and obviously we have the same taste. We like independent films, well made, well acted, well crafted, and that's what I'm into right now. It's hard to think about making another movie in this day and age, because you just wonder, why is it worth it? Because it doesn't have that special element of witnessing it with somebody that'll be like, man, that was really cool. Like you're talking about, there's a lot of garbage out there, but that one kind of sticks out, and it's like, it's special when it happens. I mean, I've driven 5 hours to go to a film festival where Blind Blood was actually screening on the Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Guess how many people showed up? One guy. And you know what? It was worth it, because I'm still talking to him to this day. We became friends. After the
nice.
screening, we talked. And for me, once again, it's not about quantity. It's really about quality. Unless it comes to dollars, and then we can talk about that some other time. No, just kidding. But you know what I mean? It's like when you make something like that, you're kind of like, it's, for me, it was worth it just to be able to see that one guy. And I mean, it's funny because I was sitting in the back, as I like to watch people's reaction, and he was sitting kind of in the middle. And every time there was a tense moment in Blind Blood, he would kind of lean in. And I said, oh shit, he's getting up, he's leaving. And then he would stay there for a while, and then, oh man, he would lean back. I'm like, oh no, he's staying. And so I was watching the movie, wondering at what time he was going to get up and get out, and he didn't. And so after the screening, we shared a Coke and talk shop for a little bit. And like I said, it's becoming a friend. So it's it was way worth it. There's no. It doesn't always have to be all big and over the top and red carpets and and all that crap. Sometimes having a conversation like we're having with people that are passionate and love the movie is freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome. Yeah.
I think that's a good segue for our final question that we like to ask all our guests.
Sure.
Before we do that, Nathan, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and more.
And more, yeah.
We'll have to get you back on to talk more about ghosts and stuff, because that's right up our alley. We'll have to
anytime. You guys let me know. You're awesome. You're fantastic. To your listeners, guys, keep watching the show. Those guys are terrific. So
thank you.
Thank you.
So what we do, we ask everyone the same question at the end. No wrong or right answer. Gut feeling. Gun to your head. Favorite movie of all time. It's hard.
Blind Blood.
Oh, that's cheating.
All right. Do you want another one? I had to do it. You know, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Favorite movie of all time. This is like asking me to pick my favorite children, depending on the
Yeah.
mood.
It
But
changes all the time.
there are two movies that really stuck with me. The first one is No Country for Old Men.
Oh, brilliant.
As I mentioned, big fan of the Coen brothers. And the assassination of J.C. James by the coward Robert Ford
Mm.
is also another one that's just beautifully, to me, those are like well crafted. But you know, I love Scott Cooper, you know, with Black Mass and Hostels, and I mean, there's so many great. Darren Aronofsky, I mean, The Wrestler, and I mean, Requiem for a Dream. That movie messed me up. I bought it on DVD, never watched it again. You know, it's like
one of those, yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. It depends on the mood. But I would say those two movies, The Assassination of J.C. James and The No
2000
Country for Old Men, is always my go-to movies when I feel like I
Yeah.
need some comfort food,
Great
visual
choices.
comfort, cinematic food. So what about you guys?
Ooh.
Oh, well,
I think
yeah.
generally.
yeah, no, it's hard, right? But no, I just want to say, like,
Just nice evading the question, James.
no, I'll get back to it because everyone's heard my answer who's listened to the show before. But no, yeah, No Country for Old Men and Assassination of Jesse James, both 2007 movies. Great year for movies. It was also There Will Be Blood was 2007.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So yeah, incredible year. Also, I wanted to quickly, before I forget, Andrew Dominic, who directed Assassination of Jesse James. Have you seen Chopper? He did Chopper.
That was him.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know. Yeah, I've seen Chopper.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
because you mentioned Romper Stomper before, and I'm like,
Yeah.
everyone who's likes Romper Stomper, I'm like, Chopper is one of my favorite like Australian films.
Sure.
So I always tell people to watch that. All right, now the hard part. I always tell people, like you said, it's impossible to choose just one favorite movie. But if I had to choose, I always say Apocalypse Now, because I think it's the greatest movie ever made, and we'll never ever see anything like it ever again. We might, in 100 years from now, we might see another Godfather. We might see another There Will Be Blood. We might see another kind of Casablanca-esque. But I don't think there's ever going to be anything like Apocalypse Now ever again.
Why not?
Because it's insane. It's so insane. It's just like he went to the jungle and he went insane, and he's just like, there's helicopters bombing the jungle, and like the actors having heart attacks and like money getting stolen, and there's like literally native tribes people killing a cow on screen. It's just, getting Marlon Brando to do anything that he doesn't want to do is a miracle. It's truly, it was like, if you're going to make a movie about the insanity of the Vietnam War, what better way to make an insane 3-hour movie? Specifically, my favorite version is the Redux, the longest version, the extended version. So I like the longer the better. I want to see the 5-hour assembly cut. So if anyone's listening and has access to that, because I know it was floating around the internet for a while, I want to see.
As for me, I'll give you two, just my standard ones. I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson, and I like his kind of, I guess, visual aesthetic. But I think the Darjeeling Limited is one of my favorite movies. And this year I've been vibing Role Models. It's on the other side of that coin. With Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd.
Wes Anderson shot Bottle Rocket in Dallas. In Dallas, Texas. I mean, the Wilson brothers are from Dallas, and shot them there. It's a great filmmaker for sure. And I mean, Apocalypse Now. It's funny you're talking about the heart attacks and all the. It's like, they don't make them like that anymore. Might not be a bad thing, but it used to be a cutthroat business, still is, but it's much more subtle now, because everybody's got a recorder and a camera in their pocket, so they can't just fall off the deep end like the way they used to back then. But it's the madness behind it is definitely, and no, for sure. I don't know they encounter anything like that on Role Models, but
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm sure they do
Who
have
knows?
some.
Yeah, who knows what shenanigans they got up to behind the scenes.
Right. Well, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so
No,
much
thank
for
you.
having me, and thank you so much for what you're doing. So once again, to your audience, you guys keep tuning in and listening to these guys. They're fantastic. So thank you so much,
you.
and hopefully we'll talk soon again.
Oh, definitely. We really appreciate it, and thank you for spending so much time with us.
Anytime.
Blind Blood is on Tubi in Australia, so definitely check it out. And in the UK and the US, it's on Amazon Prime Video. Michael, where can people find you online?
Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty easily found, and I haven't announced it yet. And I'm doing a premiere right here on your show, guys. We just had a conversation with our distributors, and the movie is also now being released in Canada and Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Oh, amazing. Nice.
So yeah. So we're pretty excited about that too. So thank you.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Excellent. We'll put all the information.
Once again, anybody
details
wants to
below.
reach out, please, easily found. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have all the links in the description. As usual, you can find us on mostly Instagram, a little bit of Facebook, depending. Some Blue Sky and Newsmast, at Tuesday Review AU. Also check out our YouTube. We have the exclusive video content. We'll have the video of this interview up on YouTube, and at Tuesday Review AU on there. What else? Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5-star rating, help us get seen and get the word out. I think that's it.
Michael, I'm on Letterboxd.
Yeah, we're on Letterboxd. My username is channeldrifter.
I'm Nathan B _90.
Michael, are you on Letterboxd?
No, I am not.
Okay,
not yet.
You have to be when you're a filmmaker, you have to be careful because you can see other people's like reviews and ratings.
I did look for Blind Blood on Letterboxd and I couldn't find it.
Oh, really?
So never mind. Yeah.
We should actually contact them and say, hey, you need to put this. Is that true? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to rate it. I wanted to do like a review, and I was like, it wasn't on there. I'm like, okay, never mind.
All right, no, that's something. Michael, we'll look into that. We're gonna call Mr. Letterboxd himself and be like, what the hell?
Excuse me, Mr. Boxed.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Box. All right.
Great.
I think that's it. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Michael, so much. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, that's it. Adios, cousins.